$100. Put it in an index fund, and in a year, you might have 110. Put it in crypto, and you might have 1,000, or you might have 3 cents. But there is an asset class that is older than the stock market, older than fiat currency, and entirely unregulated by the SEC. It doesn't require an internet connection. It doesn't care about the Federal Reserve's interest rates. It runs on biology. 300 days ago, I took $100 in cash and bought 45-day-old broiler checks, a sack of starter feed, and a red heat lamp. Today, that initial capital has compounded into $10,000 of liquid, accounted-for profit. If this sounds like the beginning of a pitch for a course on passive income, stop watching right now, because what you are about to hear is not a story about passive wealth or easy money. It is a story about the brutal, unforgiving, and highly lucrative economics of meat. We are living through an era of financial hallucinations. Millions of people are hunting for yields in digital real estate, algorithmically trading meme coins, and drop-shipping cheap plastic from factories half a world away. Meanwhile, the actual cost of keeping a human being alive, food, is quietly undergoing a pricing revolution. Walk into any grocery store and you feel it. The numbers do not lie. But while everyone is complaining about the price of eggs and chicken breast, very few are looking at the mechanical framework of how that price is built. Agriculture is the original venture capital. You are investing in a biological startup with a predetermined lifespan. And just like venture capital, the mortality rate is remarkably high. Let us look at the math of day one. $100 in the agricultural sector does not buy you infrastructure. It buys you raw, fragile potential. I bought 45 chicks at $1.50 each. That left $32.50. I spent it on a bag of high-protein feed, pine shavings, and a heat source. This is where the financial model begins. In software, your main expense is server space and developer time. In poultry, your main expense is caloric conversion. A chicken is not an animal. From a strictly economic standpoint, a commercial chicken is a biological machine designed to convert grain into protein at a highly specific ratio. This is called the feed conversion ratio, or FCR. The modern Cornish cross chicken, specifically the Cornish cross, has been genetically engineered over decades to achieve an FCR of roughly 1.5. That means for every 1.5 pounds of feed consumed, the machine gains 1 pound of body weight. If you can maintain this equation, you print money. If you fail, you are subsidizing a very expensive, very feathery funeral pyre. The first 2 weeks of this experiment were a waiting game with death. In the industry, they call it the brooding phase. You are essentially acting as an artificial mother, regulating temperature to the exact degree. The margin for error is non-existent. Drop the temperature by 5 degrees in the middle of the night, and the chicks crowd together in a corner to stay warm. The ones at the bottom suffocate. Your investment portfolio literally crushes itself to death. By day 14, I had lost 3 birds. My portfolio was down nearly 7%. Wall Street would call that a sharp correction. A farmer calls it a Tuesday. But here is where biological compounding takes over. By week 6, the surviving 42 birds had hit their target weight of 6 pounds each. That's 252 pounds of living equity. I processed them myself to avoid the bottleneck in fees of commercial slaughterhouses. At $4 a pound, sold directly to neighbors and a local butcher who cared about farm-to-table narratives, that first batch yielded just over $1,000. From 100 to 1,000 in 45 days, a 10x return on initial capital. This is exactly where the amateur gets greedy. The math looks so simple. It looks perfectly linear. If 40 birds make $1,000, 400 birds will make $10,000, and 4,000 birds will buy you a yacht. Wrong. This brings us to the uncomfortable truth of scaling a biological system. Biology does not scale linearly. It scales geometrically, and the risks multiply at the exact same rate. With my $1,000 of revenue, I didn't take profits. I rolled every single cent back in. I bought 200 chicks. I upgraded the housing. I bought feed in bulk. But 200 birds do not behave like 40 birds. 200 birds create their own microclimate. They generate intense humidity and a staggering volume of ammonia. Suddenly, you require complex ventilation, and more importantly, you attract attention. Foxes, raccoons, coyotes, and neighborhood dogs do not see a farm, they see an all-you-can-eat buffet of liquid assets walking around on two legs. At week 4 of the second cycle, I woke up at 3 in the morning to a sound you never want to hear. A raccoon had breached a weak point in the wire. In 10 minutes, it hadn't just killed 12 birds, it had triggered a panic that caused 20 more to pile up in a corner and suffocate. In a quarter of an hour, a wild animal liquidated 15% of my net worth. And then there's the silent margin killer, disease. Coccidiosis is a microscopic parasite that thrives in damp bedding. It rips through a flock like a bank run, wiping out capital in 48 hours. The birds stop eating, they become lethargic, then they die. At this scale, you realize you're no longer a farmer, you are now a biological risk manager. I had to allocate capital to preventative medication, I had to build reinforced electrified fencing, I had to engineer automated watering systems because human error in hydration leads to catastrophic loss. My profit margins, which were fat and healthy at 40 birds, began to compress violently under the weight of capital expenditure and overhead. This reveals the dark secret of the global poultry industry. The reason a few mega-corporations control 90% of the chickens sitting in your supermarket is not because they are fundamentally better at raising healthy chickens, it's because they have mastered the logistics of acceptable loss. They factor in a 5% mortality rate as a standard line item on a corporate spreadsheet. For a small operator, a 5% loss wipes out your weekend. A 20% loss pushes you into bankruptcy. If you spend any time on social media, you've seen the homesteading influencers. They wear spotless denim overalls, they hold a perfectly woven basket of brown eggs, they talk softly about returning to the land, disconnecting from the matrix, and living in harmony with nature. They're selling a lifestyle aesthetic. The reality of turning $100 into $10,000 in the dirt is the exact opposite of an aesthetic. It's hauling 50-pound bags of custom-milled feed through freezing ankle-deep mud at 5 in the morning. It's the smell of ammonia burning the back of your throat. It's the grim, unavoidable reality of making ruthless, split-second decisions about which sick asset gets cold immediately to save the rest of the portfolio from infection. The internet pitches micro-agriculture as a peaceful escape from the corporate grind. In truth, it's the purest, most brutal form of capitalism that exists on this planet. You are trading your physical labor, your sleep, and your psychological endurance for an arbitrage opportunity on grain and meat. By day 180, I was exhausted, but I was on my 4th cycle. I had dialed in the metrics. I was moving 400 birds at a time using a system called pasture poultry. I housed them in floorless pens, dragging them across fresh grass every single morning. I did not do this because I was passionate about animal welfare. I did it because it was a cold, hard economic calculation. The grass and insect diet lowered my feed consumption by roughly 15%. In a business where feed represents 70% of your total overhead, a 15% reduction is massive. It's the difference between surviving and scaling. Furthermore, the daily movement left a highly concentrated trail of nitrogen-rich manure on the pasture. I was effectively fertilizing my landlord's soil for free, which allowed me to negotiate my land lease down to 0. But I was still facing a bottleneck. Selling whole birds is a trap. A premium, pasture-raised whole bird sells for $25. It takes time to find a family willing to drop $25 on a single chicken for a Sunday roast. I realized I had to change the product architecture. I bought a commercial vacuum sealer and a set of professional boning knives. Instead of selling a whole bird for $25, I broke the asset down into its constituent parts: skinless breasts, wings, thighs, carcasses for bone broth. Vacuum sealed, cleanly labeled, and sold directly to high-income organic meal prep companies in the city, that exact $25 bird was suddenly yielding $42. I wasn't in the farming business anymore. I had vertically integrated. I was now in the value-add processing and distribution business. This is how you cross the threshold. I hit the $10,000 mark on day 294. To be clear, gross revenue was significantly higher, but $10,000 was the pure liquid profit sitting in a separate bank account, fully accounted for after feed costs, equipment depreciation, processing materials, and mortality losses, from $100 to $10,000 in under a year. But let's zoom out. Why does a story about a guy raising chickens in a field matter to you sitting behind a screen right now? Because this exact experiment reveals a fundamental, terrifying fragility in the modern global economy. Over the last 50 years, we've abstracted our survival. We expect perfectly uniform, genetically identical chicken breasts to appear on styrofoam trays wrapped in plastic for exactly $3.99 a pound, forever. We assume this is a permanent law of nature. But the input costs of that industrial system, corn, soy, diesel fuel, and synthetic fertilizer, are completely exposed to geopolitical shocks. When a shipping lane is blocked in the Middle East or a pipeline is shut down in Eastern Europe, the cost of natural gas spikes.
But if you've been enjoying the content so far, please click the like button. And if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel and help us reach 2,000 subscribers. We are on our way there. Can I count on your help if you already subscribed? Comment. I subscribed. Just go ahead and comment. I subscribed. Thank you for doing that now that you've commented. Let's continue.
When natural gas spikes, the cost of synthetic fertilizer spikes. When fertilizer spikes, the global price of corn shoots up. And when corn shoots up, the feed conversion ratio of every massive industrial chicken farm on Earth suddenly starts bleeding red. The megafarms operate on fractions of a penny per pound. Their scale is their strength, but it is also their fatal weakness. When the math breaks on a global level, they don't lose a few $100s, they lose tens of millions in a matter of weeks. They cull entire flocks of millions of birds. Supply drops. Supermarket prices double overnight. My little $10,000 agricultural experiment succeeded precisely because it was entirely inefficient by industrial standards. It was deeply localized. It was largely decoupled from global logistics chains. It capitalized on the very premium that the industrial system strips out: resilience, adaptability, and quality. The industrial food system works exactly as it was designed to work, but it is deeply structurally brittle. It optimizes for costs at the expense of stability. So yes, you can take $100 and turn it into $10,000 in 300 days. The blueprint is widely available. The biology functions exactly as programmed. The mathematical model is proven. But it forces a question most of us are completely unprepared to answer. We all want the yield. We all want the outsized return on investment. We all want the financial security. But when the internet eventually goes out, when the artificial yields of the digital economy dry up and the market aggressively corrects itself back to tangible reality, are you actually willing to get blood on your hands to keep the ledger in the green?
I hope you learned valuable insights from today's video to apply to your financial journey. As a token of appreciation, drop a comment saying, "I watched the video till the very end, so give me a heart." When I see this comment, I'll give you a heart. To ensure your success, take these 3 important steps. 1. Like this video. 2. Subscribe to this channel. 3. Turn on the notification bell. By doing so, I'll provide you with life-transformative information every week for free. Don't miss out on future videos where we'll share more golden nuggets of knowledge. All I ask is for your subscription. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to watch our next video and share it with your loved ones to inspire them to success. It may help someone achieve their financial goals.